It looks like AEW is about to shake things up backstage as changes could be coming to creative as one of Tony Khan's most trusted right-hand men has departed the company. We're going to talk about who that is, why this matters, and what changes we could see moving forward. We're also going to talk about The Rock firing back at comments and reports about his status for WrestleMania 41, as well as a very low-key backstage controversy, quote-unquote, in AEW that has been making the rounds that we are going to talk about, as AEW Wrestle Dream had a pretty controversial finish in one of its premiere matches. We'll get into all of that much more right here in this video, so be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, first things first, let's talk about AEW. It feels like after Wrestle Dream, a new era is upon us. That was the feeling that we got from the show, that it's not like necessarily the AEW of old where the pay-per-views have a very nice and satisfying ending. This was a very depressing and dark pay-per-view on many accounts. And one of the reasons that we might have seen this is because of a creative change that happened in AEW. Well, kind of, maybe. Let's talk about it. So, as reported by originally Ibu of Wrestle Purists and then kind of backed up upon by FightfulSelect.com, here is the Fightful Select update. Quote, Jimmy Jacobs has finished up with AEW, and there's been much discussion about his departure since Fightful broke the news. Fightful Select was told that Jacobs was very well liked in All Elite Wrestling, and there appeared to be no ill will regarding his departure. Jacobs cited burnout and not wanting to travel as much as the reason for wanting to finish up. AEW took the opportunity to decide that the move would be a creative freshening up for them, as Jacobs was a major part of the team for well over a year. We're told that outside of Tony Khan, Jacobs was at more AEW shows than anyone. Now, that's part one. We will get into the second part of that, but Jimmy Jacobs, for those of you who do not know or remember, was a former WWE writer, a former indie wrestler, even had a very infamous tag team now back in the day with Tyler Black, now known as Seth Rollins in WWE, back when they were in Ring of Honor. I know I just threw a lot of acronyms / names at you, but it is what it is. Regardless, Jacobs has been around wrestling a while. He was also a producer, I believe, in TNA for a little bit. He has been with AEW for, I believe, well over 2 years or a year and a half at this point. And he's someone who's kind of brought in to be Tony Khan's right-hand man. And if you go back and look at the things that Jacob has done creatively in WWE especially, he played a very critical role, along with Chris Jericho, in producing the List of Jericho storyline with Kevin Owens and the rise of that, and what ended up being, going into WrestleMania 33, the biggest storyline that WWE had. And of course, we all remember how it ended. We don't need to talk about it. But regardless, that was a major part of WWE at the time. And Jacobs was a player responsible for producing that big story. So one of the questions when he came into AEW was, like, not only is he going to be, you know, Tony Khan's right-hand man, kind of serving in almost an assistant capacity, but also, like, he's obviously going to be, to some degree, involved with creative. And while he was not, and it's been made clear that he was not the head of creative, it was not like second in command in a structured way, although he obviously was at a lot of AEW shows. He was right there with Tony. You would think that he had a little bit of sway with Tony Khan, but regardless of that, that seems to be the case. Now, there are also some interesting tidbits that this Fightful Select report kind of goes on to clarify, because there were some people who were claiming, well, Jacobs didn't know who Okada was. He didn't like Daniel Garcia or things like that were kind of thrown out there, but do not seem to be the case. Here's what we know according to some of the corrections. There have been several incorrectly aggregated reports from a Twitter Spaces that Abu of WrestlePurists hosted shortly after. Some details that were discussed online, we can add some details to. Jacobs did come into AEW not familiar with the on-screen product, but was always open to learn and took recommendations on catching up. Jacobs did work directly with Chris Jericho in developing the learning tree. However, we're told that the original execution was not Jacobs' idea. Jimmy Jacobs knew who Okada was. That news emerging was bad aggregation. Okay, so he knew who Okada was. I would expect, look, even if you've never seen an Okada match, everyone, if you're around pro wrestling for long enough, you will know who Kazuchika Okada is, right? Especially if you've been around for the past couple of years, you will have heard about it, like Japan's John Cena, all that stuff. You will have heard about him. So would baffle me if Jimmy Jacobs, of all people, did not know who Okada was, especially considering Jacobs and his ties to the Elite. The reason that Jimmy Jacobs got fired from WWE was because when Cody Rhodes, Nick, and Matt Jackson and Hangman Page had their invasion or tailgate, whatever you want to call it, of a WWE show back in, I think it was 2018. Jacobs took a selfie with him, and that was the reason he got fired by WWE. So, regardless, that's the Jimmy Jacobs stuff. Look, I think that one thing that we can take away from this and how this is going to impact things creatively is last year you could very well see that AEW went into a more sports entertainment kind of creative direction. That was very clear. Made no more clear than all of the stuff with MJF, Adam Cole, The Devil, etc. Now, personally, I really enjoyed the MJF Adam Cole stuff before Adam Cole got hurt. And I was interested for that reason in the Devil storyline. It did not pan out the way that it was meant to, largely because Adam Cole is hurt. We'll get into the whole Adam Cole return thing in a different time, or you can go check out my stream for that. But it was clear that they went into a more, WWE-esque kind of storytelling vibe, which is not what AEW was predicated on. AEW was predicated on telling logical, simple stories that built to matches, right? And I think it's important to have that aspect. I think AEW should have, sports entertainment aspects to their show. It should be a variety show. There should be something for everyone on the show. And at its best, AEW had a bit of that. Now, with Jacobs now gone, I think, and AEW kind of taking that as an opportunity. All right, look, we now have the ability to look at what else is going on, what other stories can we elevate, what kind of stories do we want to focus on. I think that is a key for AEW, and it's a good thing that they're making that creative change. Because I think one of the big things that many longtime AEW fans have criticized them for is their creative direction in 2023 and the first part of 2024. I think they've been hitting. They've been hitting strong since June. But I do think that, there is that sour taste in everyone's mouth from last year. Will Jacobs leaving alleviate those concerns? We can't be sure. It is definitely a step in the right direction, I think, and especially if Jimmy Jacobs is burnt out and all that kind of stuff. It's not oh my God, Jimmy Jacobs sucks at his job or whatever. This is more of if it took this for AEW to think about freshening up and essentially hey, let's refresh the creative a little bit. That's a good thing in my book. If there's one person that I think, or if there are two people that AEW I think should lean on in this moment, outside of Tony Khan, obviously, Will Washington, who by all indications had a pretty big role to play in AEW's best story of the year between Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland, and Jennifer Pepperman, who obviously came from WWE, has a lot of experience in writing, but is also kind of, I think, learning to adapt to the more AEW vibe. I think those are two people that if they can like hone in on that, they can do wonders in that company. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, a lot to talk about creatively, and at the end of the day, we will see if that creative direction does lead to an uptick in business for AEW. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's the big thing that Tony and everyone is concerned about over there. So we'll talk about that at a later time. One thing I can tell you right now is after going to AEW Wrestle Dream, I do want to give a big shout out to the big folks over at SeatGeek, because if it wasn't for them, I would not have been at AEW Wrestle Dream, because I wouldn't have been able to buy tickets. But now you, yes, you watching this, can buy tickets to WrestleMania, your favorite concert, AEW, whatever you're going to go to, football game, concert, whatever. You guys can go over, download SeatGeek, and get $20 off your first purchase. That's $20 off your first purchase using the promo code RealTake. RealTake, that's all you got to do. You type that in after you download the app, and boom, you get $20 off your first purchase. So if you're going to, I don't know, the new Linkin Park concert, which I don't know if they're touring, maybe they're touring, there's some controversy there, but if you're going to that, you're going to get $20 off. If you're going to, a playoff game, I mean, the $20 probably won't matter too much to you, because you're going to be spending like $10,000 on the seats, but can save you $20, $20 more dollars you can spend on concessions. If you're going to Mania, if you're going to AEW Dynamite, Raw, whatever you're going to, $20 off using the promo code RealTake. That is promo code RealTake when you download SeatGeek. Information down below in the description. All right, let's move forward now and talk about a kind of backstage controversy that people are getting into online about at Wrestle Dream. So AEW Wrestle Dream featured the AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line, Private Party versus the Young Bucks. And there was a large contingent of fans that believed that Private Party should have won that match. They did not. And what ended up happening was there was a bit of backlash about that. Especially after 5 years, Private Party had been there, and you would expect them to elevate to this position with the Young Bucks. That did not happen. Now we are learning, courtesy of Fightful Select, this is an aggregation from Wrestle Purists, there were definitely some people in AEW that pushed for Private Party to win the AEW tag titles this week. That obviously did not happen. At the end of the day, we need to remember this. Tony Khan is the head booker. The buck stops with him. People are going online saying, the Young Bucks, they play their creative control card. By all indications, according to reports that have been released from Fightful and other sources, the Young Bucks did not have a sway in this decision. In fact, they have had no problem losing to people in the past. They even took a bit of a jab at this, tongue-in-cheek on Twitter when they said, they retweeted this story and said, "That doesn't work for me, brother," which of course is a play on Hulk Hogan, who legitimately played his creative control card in some of the most insane ways, even changing the match results in the ring. Wow. I still can't believe he did that. Ruined Hulk Hogan. I will look. I know it's not supposed to be a Hulk Hogan concept, but never not blame Hulk Hogan for ruining WCW's biggest moment, Starrcade 97. I don't care how many WrestleManias you main evented, I will never not blame you for that. Now, of course, though, a Private Party, this is not the first time we've seen calls for them to win titles. It's not even the first time we've seen calls for AEW to call an audible in the ring. Of course, everyone remembers All Out 2022, Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed AEW tag titles on the line. And in that match, there were people who believed there should have been an audible call to put the Acclaimed over, because that was the hottest that the Acclaimed had ever been. So all of that aside, I think, they had a chance here with Private Party to do something very special and establish them after 5 years to be that threat that we all believed they could be when they beat the Young Bucks in that tag title tournament a couple of years ago. but they still haven't won the titles, and they're still kind of there. And this is the hottest they've been. And I don't know if AEW is going to get their chance. And for that reason, I'm like, they should have put him over. Like, I don't know what they have planned with Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson and the EVPs, but, you know, they don't have a large presence on TV, especially as much as they used to. They just seem to be side characters. They don't even have the best invasion in AEW at this point because right now everyone's just focused on the Moxley stuff and then the BCC and their invasion. No one really cares about that EVPs being like, it's the hostile takeover, brother. No one really cares. So, I don't know. I feel like this could have been a good point to take the belts off of them. And you could even have the Young Bucks take it back in a couple of weeks. Have a major moment on Dynamite. Have a tag title change. But I don't know. They didn't do that. It is what it is. We'll see if the Street Pro... Or sorry. Oh my God. I did not just do that. We will see if Private Party, can get back on track. Let's move on, guys, and talk about The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He is obviously WWE's biggest star, period. And he's been in the news this week. So originally, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter had claimed that The Rock was not scheduled for WrestleMania. And that was a big hullabaloo hoopla. It was a big story that was making the rounds on the internet, and people were very upset because The Rock just kind of set his sights on Roman and Cody at Bad Blood. You would think that in Las Vegas, they're trying to build this up to be the biggest WrestleMania of all time. Triple H just teased this. You would think that they would have The Rock ready to go. Well, they might. Because after these reports came out, The Rock did a reply on Twitter to someone who had actually called out the report saying, quote, Are you really not working Mania 41? Say it ain't so. And The Rock replied, don't believe any of that bullshit. So The Rock very clearly saying that it's BS. Expect me at WrestleMania 41. That is what I am taking away. That is what fans should take away. And that is, I think, what people should expect to see. We are going to see The Rock at Mania 41, barring an injury. Now, Dave Meltzer, ironically enough, who originally had reported this, also kind of clarified his stance on the matter afterwards in the Wrestling Observer radio show that he does, saying the following, quote, I know that he was not confirmed for the show as of Thursday, so if something changed, I'll find out. But if he wants to do it, he's doing it. It's up to him. They want to know, obviously, going into the Royal Rumble, where they're going, and at that point, we'll see. And Uncle Dave, Big Tuna, Uncle Dave Meltzer, shout out to him, pointing out that, well, at the end of the day, a decision has to be made. Personally, I think he is going to be there. He should be there. He's going to be there. He will be there. All of the above, because all of the fanfare around this, all of the teasing and the build, you can't not give the fans this at this point. WWE, over the last 2 years, has developed so much goodwill with their fan base after Vince McMahon had spat on it, done other stuff on it, and like thrown it in the toilet. This is a time for them to deliver in a big way, and deliver a match or two that people are clamoring for. Roman and The Rock, dream money match. Roman and Cody, dream money match. Again, I'm going to say it. I think they're building to a triple threat. I genuinely believe they're building to a triple threat. And I believe it's going to happen at WrestleMania. So we'll see. The Rock, of course, though, basically claiming that he's going to be there. We'll see if that is indeed true. Guys, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section, who would you rather see The Rock face, Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns? Or are you like me? Are you a big old sicko and you want to see a triple threat? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what you guys think AEW's new creative direction should be. Should the Young Bucks have beaten Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn at AEW Wrestle Dream for the tag titles? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.